the end, we were talking about Gaya Kama and Mano Kama. And I'm not sure I've understood that correctly. Is it that Gaya Kama is Kama through bodily action? For instance, stealing or sexual misconduct or something like that. And Manokama is, well, I don't think I have, I don't think I have it right. Is Manokama is with intention, and yet it seems to me that even with Gaya Kama, if I'm understanding it, Kama through the body door, there would also need to be intention as well. Can you comment on that? Or clarify it, please?
สวัสดีค่ะคุณแอนค่ะสวัสดีทุกคนค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์ครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
And in brief, karma is chaitana. So whatever,
Yes.
whatever doorway, the kaya karma, the mano karma, it always refers to chaitana.
Mhm.
But the deed or act that is motivated by the chitta, it depends whether it is conveyed through body or speech, for example. So when we talk about mano karma, it's actually referring to the chaitana with the chitta, which can condition speech or a deed, or it may not, maybe just a conveying a meaning in some other way. And I think what we talked about last time is when there's a lot of deliberation, even though the deed is performed through body as speech, it's referred to as mano karma. And actually, even in the sense store in the Atasalani, it talks about mano karma, even when there's, so when it's not through body or speech, it is mano karma. But if a deed is done very spontaneously, or one just speaks harshly, very spontaneously, it's referred to as kaya karma or vachi karma, but still it is chaitana, which is the karma.
It would have to be, yeah. Can we say then that manokama, which is thought about before it happens, we use basically it's premeditated. It's yeah, premeditated.
If we're talking about, for example, I think last time, an act such as killing, if we want to distinguish between a kind of spontaneous deed that's done on the spot, like when an animal kills another animal, and one which is planned for a long time, such as when one lays a trap in the forest, then it can be distinguished by being referred to as mano karma versus kaya karma. But mano karma also refers to those karmas, those chaitanas, which, such as even in the sense store, which don't lead to any bodily deed or any speech, or which are not of the degree of kamapata that will bring result.
Okay,
So
thanks.
it's quite intricate.
Yes.
But the karma is always the chaitana, no matter what.
Well, that's what I thought.
The deed or speech is
Right.
through.
I must have inaccurately written something down quickly, because there won't be kama. I mean, kama, as you say, kama is jetana, no kama.
And so even if it's a bodily deed is performed, mano, the karma is in mind, even when it's a spontaneous act.
Mm-hmm.
Still the chetana with the chitta, which just conditions those particular rupas.
Right.
It's just a way that they are different kinds of karma are classified in the text. It's just a way to show the difference between when it's deliberately planned or not, or more spontaneous.
Okay. And we're talking about Gama here that is Gamapata.
In those particular examples, we're talking about kamapata, but if it's just the intention and the sense or in the mind or like just a thought of killing, then it's just manokama, but there's no deed performed, so it's not killing at those times.
Right.
Or whilst dreaming about killing, for example. So it's manokama, it's karma, but it's not kamapata that will bring result.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have something to ask? Tadao?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I have a question about contemplating on before going to sleep, contemplating on the fact that there are no legs and no arms. And I was said that it's a wrong practice. But I think that kind of contemplation can be yoniso manasikara or yoniso manasikara. So I'd like to know what is a criterion, or what are criteria which distinguish between yoniso manasikara and yoniso manasikara. In other words, in what way do we have to sort of think about realities? Because Ajahn often says that picharana, yeah? And I'd like to know the nature of picharana. That's my question.
I think the main point to Tao is that it's not the topic, but the nature of the chitta that's important. Like in the commentary, then there's a passage about thinking about kings and queens and different worldly matters, but it points out that it's not actually the kings and the queens and the worldly matters that makes it ayoniso manasikara. It's the nature of the chitta that can be reflecting on no arms, no legs with kusala chittas and understanding, or they can be reflecting on no arms, no legs with wrong view and wrong understanding, which was a point Jonathan was making the other day. So it's the nature of the chitta, the nature of understanding that is important, not the topic like death. They can be reflecting now about how death can come any moment with fear and worry and anxiety, or they can be reflecting on death coming now with calm and pleasant feeling and right understanding. So it's not the topic, it's the nature of the chittas that reflect at this moment, or when going to sleep, or any moment. But for sure, if there is the idea of trying to reflect on death to have calm, or trying to reflect on no arms or legs to have understanding, that will be ayoniso manasikara, because it's I trying to contemplate, trying to be calm, trying to understand.
So you are saying that there is no self, which
no-
somehow choose between ksala and aksara chittas.
Right.
It's
And
all by conditions.
it's all by conditions. And even if there is reflecting now on dhammas at this moment, it's by conditions, whether it's yoniso or ayoniso manasikara, even at this moment, while reflecting on different dhammas like karma a moment ago, it can be reflecting with confusion and doubt, or with attachment, or with right understanding. No one can make it a certain way. No one can say, I'm going to reflect on karma to have kusala citas at that moment of thinking. For sure, it's the wrong path. So it all comes back to the understanding of Dhamma now, not self.
So in a sense, you are saying that it all depends on accumulation.
Depends on accumulation and especially on understanding.
Mm.
So as soon as there's any idea of I should reflect on this to have understanding, then it's wrong for sure, because it's not the understanding that the reflecting now, seeing now, the hearing now is conditioned.
Mm.
No one can make what is akusala kusala at this moment.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if Ajahn is hearing us now and like to add anything.
Okay.
Sawadika.
We are talking about the absolute truth, not just the truth, right? The truth is what we heard about this and that, whether it's true or not. But now we're talking about the absolute truth. And what does it mean? Absolute truth means understanding what is there as it is. No one there, beginning from this word. Actually, there is no thing or people or I as before, because it's not true. What is true is the absolute truth, which appears what nobody knows until hearing the teachings of the Buddha and begin to consider the difference between the ordinary that they use for the truth and the absolute truth. That the absolute truth is the reality. It's so real that no one can change its characteristic at all. That's why for the question whether there is arms and legs, it brings about thinking about how much understanding of the absolute truth. For example, not just only before going to bed, but even any time or even right now, the absolute truth is there to study, to know the truth of it. That actually what we are thinking, we are considering about manasikara, yoniso, or yoniso, is that the absolute truth? Or what is the absolute truth, which now is appearing? And so, even right now, just open one's eyes and sees and hear and think, is the arms and legs now absolute truth?
Yeah, there are arms and legs. Arms.
Is that absolute truth?
No,
Does
it's
it
not.
appear?
It's not.
Does an arm appear now?
Mm.
See what appears actually at moment of seeing. What appears?
It should be just a visual object.
We used to think about the shape and form as arms and legs, head, cushion, and anything around. But actually, what is the absolute truth from the Buddha's enlightenment? No one knows. It's only that which can impinge on the eye base, and seeing just arise to see how very little thinking about the ants, see its eyes, its ears, no sound in body, and the seeing, no rupa at all. How one can imagine the moment of seeing that it sees what? It just sees that which is now appearing. very, very, very tiny before it can become a doll, a head, a shape and form and things around. How much there is the ignorance about what is now appearing, no understanding the absolute truth. That's why one begins to understand it. It's not easy to erase or wearing away the idea of self or legs or things around. See, as there is the sea of a doll here, it's just like it has arms and legs, but actually it's their arms and legs, not just at the moment of looking at a doll. What about now? Is their arms and legs? Otherwise, it's not understanding the teachings of the Buddha about no self, no permanent thing at all dhammas are anatta, and all sankhara dhamma must be anicca, dukkha, anatta. See, we think about that which does not appear. We think about my legs is still there, but what is there to understand the absolute truth? Otherwise, we just talk about the words about the absolute truth, but the characteristic of reality right now, each one has its own characteristic, condition to arise and fall away, unknown, because what appears is the shape and form and the concept of what is there to be known as it's something, but actually that arises and falls away all the time, unknown. That's why the idea of arms and legs is still there. Not just us, but even the doll's arms, the doll's legs, see? And what about here now? We take it from my leg and my arms, but what appears is that leg and arm which impinge on the eye, and it appears as arm and legs, not at all. So is there arm and leg now?
Yeah, unfortunately.
In the absolute sense, the absolute truth,
No,
nothing at all. Only that which appears as the object of a citta at the moment.
mm,
So many cittas are known, Sampatichana, Santirana, and the other. What appears is not known yet. So how can we think about that? Manasikara and Yoniso Manasikara. Why the eye there? Thinking, keep on thinking about this and that, not understanding the truth of even that which thinks is not I at all. So the question now again is that arm and leg. Do you have arms and legs?
yeah, I
Or
know
no
that.
me, no eye,
Mm,
no arms, no legs?
yeah,
Absolute truth.
yeah. Yeah, I understand that. A problem is the idea of self, or notion of self, which thinks that there are arms and legs all the time.
Or the,
But it seems to be very natural for many people, including me.
and this
Imagine.
is the difference between the Samma Sambuddho and us.
Mm,
That's why we listen to his and study carefully. That is so very deep, so very subtle. Even it arises and fall away all the time, but not being known yet.
mm, mm,
When about that, no panya enough, not enough panya, but depends on understanding little by little about the truth that the absolute truth is that there's no thing at all, no one at all, only different realities arising and falling away all the time. So it's not just say there's no me, but there's no leg and arms too.
mm,
No people, no things, no eyes. It's the shape of that we take for eye, eyebrow, and so on. See? all the different realities arising and falling away before it can be directly experienced and understand the truth, the absolute truth about the Four Noble Truths. That's
But
why to study actually the intellect understanding, pariyati, it's not just a word. It's a moment of beginning to understand the truth that it has to be there from learning, studying, and have more confidence. So it can condition moment of understanding that which is now there. Now, see, as what has been heard enough to condition the moment of direct awareness is so natural as usual. But the difference between the direct awareness and the intellectual understanding is much different because it needs panya of the degree that it can understand that which is now appearing without understanding to become moment of direct awareness and begin to understand the truth of it. But actually, what we take for arms is only hardness and not as hard as we used to experience in a day. Just like the hardness of the ants experiencing hardness. And more than that, because it's just a moment of the experiencing of the nimitta of a reality.
And I think what you're saying is that no arms and no legs is just another way of saying that there are just conditioned dhammas arising and falling away at the present moment. Would that be right?
yeah, but it's something which is very hard to realize.
When you say realize, are you referring to understanding conditioned realities?
Yeah, as they are.
And I think what Ajahn is pointing to is that these conditioned realities don't appear at the present moment. What appears are the concept of, say, arms and legs.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a reminder that in reality there are just conditioned dhammas, and it is conditioned dhammas that are to be known or realized. So it's not as though the realization is the understanding of the conditioned dhammas. And when that understanding is developed, then truly there can be said to be some realization that there are no arms and no legs. But until that understanding is developed, of course, then no arms and no legs is just a reminder that there is much to be understood.
Yeah. So I think I have to be very honest to accept that I'm full of ignorance. And so I have
That's
to be patient.
the same for everyone, that the development of the understanding is very gradual and it needs very specific set of factors for its development.
Yeah.
But I don't think Ajahn is saying we should be realizing no arms, no legs at this point.
Yeah.
You have more confidence of the absolute truth that actually there is no thing at all. Because whenever no thing, anything arises, there is nothing, see, and that is the truth. Even the citta is conditioned to arise, but as the understanding of citta is there, the characteristic of that which can experience shows up. No world, but only that which experiences. Understanding the characteristic which experiences, not that which is experienced. So the panya is so keen to not just thinking about the truth, but directly experience with understanding. Exactly right now. But now, no panya to understand that. It needs the development of hearing the teachings and understand the truth. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Because I just turned it off just a moment ago. And now it's good that you heard me from the very beginning. To understand the absolute truth, it has to be such deeper and deeper enough, more confident and strong enough to condition a little understanding with direct awareness, very natural, just like now. So before that, there is the experiences of that we take for arms and legs and cups and things. But actually, the absolute truth is that there are no things like that at all. No world like full of things, but only the moment of experiencing that which is hard. Learn to understand that which experience and that which is experienced, not as something. And I have such Yoniso Manasikara or the words at all. So it takes quite a long, long time. No one can imagine when will that arise, even the moment of direct awareness, just like now. But there's no understanding, so it's not sati, not samma sati. But it begins to be when there's more understanding, little by little.
Yeah.
And we think, like you said to Tao, I'm so full of ignorance, or I'm so wrong, full of misunderstanding. But no I who has ignorance or has understanding or has anything or is full of anything. They're just different Chaitasikas and rupas arising and falling away. So this is the point of the no arms, no legs. We could be talking about no hair, no skin, or no computer, no chair. It's just pointing out that no I who has ignorance, no computer that has hardness, no arm that has softness, just different realities arising and falling away, so that gradually, very, very gradually, there is the weaning off the strong clinging to the idea of I. So even when thinking, is this yoniso or ayoniso manasikara, behind it there's the idea of I who would like to have ayoniso manasikara, would like to have yoniso manasikara and not be full of ignorance. So trying so hard, but actually it's the wrong path that leads in the wrong direction, because it's still the clinging to I who can develop more understanding or have more direct insight, not just understanding that now what is touched is softness, not an arm. What is thought about is with ignorance, but it's not my ignorance. It just falls away instantly. Nothing to be concerned about because it's gone already.
Yeah, what I thought is that a criterion which distinguish Yoniso Manasikara from Yoniso Manasikara is the presence or absence of notion of self. And most of the time we have idea of self. So it's hard to have a Yoniso Manasikara.
Right. Very little Yoniso Manasikara, very little wise considering in a day, because usually it is arm and leg and my ignorance and the computer, and not just thinking in conventional terms, but the idea that actually they're there and they stay, they last. So the moments of wise consideration, wise reflection are rare, but they don't belong to me. They arise by condition. Like now, reflecting that what is touched is just softness, not an arm, naturally, and then gone.
But as far as no arms and no legs, I think it's a very good reminder of realities. In realities, there are no arms and no legs.
At this very moment, not just when falling asleep, but right now.
Yeah.
There's no ajahn, no, and just no arm, no leg,
Yeah,
nothing there at all.
yeah,
Just moment of seeing and what is seen, moment of hearing what is heard, touching what is touched, and lots of thinking, usually with ignorance, as you say,
yeah,
but none of it belonging to me or anyone else.
yeah. Okay,
So
thank
it's just a way of explaining that nothing there at all at this moment, because people think, oh well, it's not this person or that person, but when there's the idea of an arm or a leg or a body existing, the idea of someone, something.
I think we have to keep in mind that we're talking about what is real at the present moment and what is not real at the present. So what is real at the present moment are just the conditioned dhammas that we speak about so frequently.
Yeah.
And what is not real at the present moment is the concept of the world that we have, the world at large, a world of people and things.
Yeah.
And that includes a concept of arms and legs.
Yeah, yeah.
So it comes down to being a reminder of what is real and can be directly experienced at the present.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. And here I have another question. Some time ago, Ajahn said that all the Sabhava Dhammas are sunya or sunyata. So all the realities are void. And I'd like to know in what sense Sabhava Dhammas are sunya or sunyata. I assume that concept is not sunya or sunyata. So those dhammas which have its own essence or sabhava are sunyata. But it's very strange because dhammas has its own sort of characteristic. And when they have their own characteristic, how can we say that they are sunya or sunyata? That's what I do not understand.
Sunyata, because they don't arise, they're not conditioned, so they cannot be sunyata. Sunyata refers to the nature of that which is conditioned and has fallen away. But seeing is sabhava dhamma. It has a characteristic that can be known. It is reality which sees, but it's gone instantly. No one is there, no thing is there. It's gone immediately. This is sunyata. So every reality which has its characteristic, which has its particular nature, arises and falls away immediately. Each one is anatta, each one is sunyata, gone, never to return.
So are you saying that all the dhammas, realities, are sunya or sunyata because of their rapidity?
Because they arise, they have a characteristic that can be known and are gone instantly. So any conditioned dhamma is sunyata. Because it's not self, not anyone, empty of anyone or anything.
And you do not say that concept is sunya or sunyata.
Well, usually we say concepts are anatta because they're not something or anything. But when the text refer to the nature of dharmas as being anatta or sunyata, it's referring to realities, not to concepts.
Yeah.
But in fact, concepts, there's nothing there, no one there. So they are not self in that sense.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if Ajahn has anything she would like to add to your question.
Well, was seen just a moment ago. The answer?
Saying what? Saying.
Just a moment ago. Where was it?
Saying things.
Seeing a moment ago. Where is it? Where was it?
Oh, go
Is
on.
it somewhere?
Go on.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
Forever.
go on.
To return, right?
Uh,
That's the meaning of sunyata.
oh. So to see the nature
It's,
of
it's not a moment ago. And the moment ago is sunyata. And even right now, it's saying that it falls away instantly, sunyata.
Okay. So to realize sunyata, one has to see realities, or one has to see each reality. Can we say
Otherwise, it's permanent, just like now. Nothing arises, nothing fall away. It's there all the time. No understanding of sunyata. But from hearing and considering, this moment is not just a moment ago. And where this moment ago, never to return at all in samsara. So whatever is now appearing is only once in samsara. Only that. Otherwise, there must be the clinging to that which is gone as usual, because not directly experience the truth that actually what is meant by enlightenment, the absolute truth, little by little, onto stage by stage of deeper and deeper understanding of the truth until Ariya Satya is there, directly experienced the end of that which has been accumulated wrong understanding of what is there as something permanent from birth.
Okay, I think I understood. I've understood what sunyata is.
So it's not just the word sunyata, anatta, but it's the truth of that which is now appearing.
So when there is the idea that there are
understanding of the different level and stage of understanding. Okay.
Yeah.
And the truth now can develop little by little to be object of understanding. So Panya understands the different levels of understanding. There is the understanding of sunyata and anatta now, but it does not appear yet. But it's so true that it can be directly experienced, but not by the ignorance of still taking it for something all the time. But it has to be letting go from moment of hearing the truth, letting go the idea of self or thing, permanent, but it's beginning of understanding until it develops. And what develops? The letting go and the panya, which lets go. The other thing cannot let go, the idea of self, wrong understanding of the world from life to life. So how long it has been accumulated to be now, But the understanding of this moment is the moment of letting go a little bit of ignorance and clinging to the idea of self and clinging to all conditioned reality until the conditioned everything which conditioned what appears now gone completely, no more at all. So at moment of understanding, it's not you, it's panya, right understanding, which is conditioned from hearing, considering, and beginning to understand that the truth is this moment that can be object of understanding, little by little, with direct awareness, until panya develop enough so that it can show up because it's not covered by ignorance as before. So now ignorance covered up everything from moment to moment until panya is there, developing with other sankhara khanda.
Yeah, we have to be reminded of realities and the importance of development of Satya and Panya. And I would say that we are very lucky to be reminded by you twice a week. And it's an incredible opportunity. And I appreciate these opportunities very much.
And now we all attend to the Buddha goodness because you see that we can do good to our parents, to our ancestors, to treat them, to wash their food, or whatever one can do. But what about the Buddha? To do good to him is to study respectfully and just use to talk his word for the others to understand. This is the way to do good to the Buddha. Each moment of doing good deeds. Okay? Otherwise, we forget how to do good to him.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But we do good to people, many people, but not to him, the most respectful one.
Yeah, many people just recite the passage, iti piso bhagava araham, blah, 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 blah. And that's not good enough.
No understanding, just talk like the parrots. So each word should be carefully, respectfully studied to understand the difference between highly panya as Buddha and us who are we, full of ignorance. And listening to him and just say that it's not as deep and have meditation center and so on, just wrong word, not his words. And that is not to do good deed to him or to do good to him at all. And this is in the Tipitaka about doing good to the parents, ancestor, and the one who's good, but do good also to Buddha.
Yeah, thank you.
One small point on sunyata, Ajahn. When we're talking about nibbana, it's anatta, it's not self, but it doesn't fall away. So does that mean that it's not sunyata?
What does not arise at all, it doesn't fall away. So
Nibbana, yes.
That.
So it's not sunyata, so it's anatta, but not sunyata. It's the one Dhamma that is...
matter what word we use,
yes.
But the understanding of the difference between all Dhammas, like all Dhammas are anatta. And since nothing arises, so it doesn't fall away. See?
Right.
Is it not anatta? Even it does not arise.
Yes, it's anatta.
Nothing at all.
It's definitely anatta, and it And definitely doesn't fall away. Yes.
But what is there is true or not. What is true is true.
Yes.
For example, Nibbana is true, even it does not arise. Right? So it depends on understanding on different aspects, but the understanding is the most important. That Nibbana is not that which arises and falls away, but it's real. So whatever is real is anatta.
Yes.
And sunyata, can it include that which is not there at all? It depends on the aspect of understanding.
Right. Okay. It's a subtle point about the sunyata in that regard, because usually we say what is anatta is sunyata, but in the case of conditioned dharmas, it's more obvious because
but think a little more.
Yes.
Anatta means nothing, right? Permanent,
Yes.
nothing at all. So that which is real must be anatta.
Must be anatta.
Even it does not arise.
Okay. Yes. Definitely.
So that's not there at all. Can it be sunyata? It's real, but it's not there at all. So it doesn't matter what word we use, but the understanding of the term.
Yeah.
And Buddha point out in different aspects, different ways. But what is meant is that not actually, there is nothing. And that there are conditions for that which arises. But that which arises falls away. Sunyata as before. Anatta as before. Nothing there at all. In that sense.
Yes. And to Tao, when there's the idea of arms or legs as existing, then no understanding of anatta or sunyata. Point.
Oh, it's very clear. I know that.
It's really good. You can join the discussions, Tao.
So now it does mean there's no eye only, but there is no arms and legs and everything. Right? As thing, as someone, as legs, as body, as hair.
Yeah.
It seems that it's easier to, I'm going to say contemplate, because the level of understanding is so low, that there is no cup, there is no tree, no table, than it is there are no arms and legs, because we see them as something that is permanent and that it's mine and that I need to walk. I found myself feeling quite, when I thought about no arms, no legs the other day, I think I intellectually, think about it correctly. However, I noticed within me this feeling of, oh my goodness, not mine, not real. And I kind of thought it's because we take them as being essential to our lives when really they aren't, just another reality, another concept. Sorry, the reality, it's another concept formed up from realities.
It's just like the same as is there you?
Yeah.
When there's no you, how can that be the arms and legs? Exactly the same. The question is just for knowing how much understanding of no I, no thing, no me, no flower, only different realities. conditioned to arise just to be there and then gone forever. So how can that be? The leg, it's only hardness, softness. That's why we talk about the absolute truth. Otherwise, it's true that one born and then die. See? But what is the truth? The absolute truth of that which arises, which is born and which dies.
And when you say no I, no me, do you mean no self? Is that what you're
Yes.
referring to? Because the idea of self, of course, is a total assumption on our part. There's no actual basis for it. But the idea of arms and legs is formed depending on there are conditioned dhammas, rupas, the hardness, and so forth. That is why there comes to be the idea of arms and legs. So there's a difference, isn't there, between the idea of a self, for which there is no basis in reality, and the idea of arms and legs, for which there are certain hardness and so forth that are taken to be arms and legs.
I think no self is really the absence of anything that can control or determine, or is a lasting essence. So it's an absence of, whereas, as you were saying, the no arms and legs, there is something that can be touched, something that can be, there is visible object that sees, there is hardness that can be touched. So the concept is more real.
I think it's just the same, because of the hardness and softness is touched, and the memory, there comes to be the idea of arm and leg. And because of the memory of all these different hardness and softness, there comes to be the idea of a body. And because of the further memories and further kinds of thinking about arms and bodies, there comes to be the idea of self, and then of other people and things and places. And that's why it's said that all kinds of wrong views come from the wrong idea of self. You could say all wrong views come from the idea of arm and toe and body. So
I was thinking of this self in terms of someone who can control, can determine.
Yes, I think
Rather
the idea of self is different from the idea of me and others, oneself and others.
Yes,
because,
I think Sarah was describing. Sarah was describing. Sarah, I thought what you were describing was more others. But no, I'm not saying this right at all.
So the idea that my arm can pick up a cup, or I can pick up a cup, and the computer can operate the program. It's still the idea of something, someone that can do this or that, or behaves in a certain way. And at last, it's not the understanding of dhammas. And this is the deep meaning of anatta, that it is just a reality, just a rupa, just a different namas that arise and fall away, no matter whether they are the rupas or the namas that are referred to as arms or self or computers.
the idea of self is like the idea of Father Christmas. It's just a total fabrication. But the idea of an arm or a leg is different. There's not necessarily any it's not necessarily any wrong not wrong representation in the mind to think that this is a hand and that is a foot, for example. There's no wrong view necessarily involved in making that distinction between a hand and a foot. But there's necessarily a wrong view in having the idea of Father Christmas or a self.
Yeah, I think I see what you're saying.
But neither is the same as, of course, and having understanding of what is appearing at the present moment is something else again.
Yes. Yeah.
So there can be thinking of concepts without wrong view and thinking of concepts with, I see it.
Right. Well, I think I see your distinction between the idea of a self and what was the other one? The idea of
This is a hand and that's a foot.
yes, yes, yeah, yeah. And I keep coming back to, we often think that there is a self that determines I'm going to walk, well, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, I'm going to eat. And that is certainly the wrong idea of self, that there is something, I think if I were to define self, I'd define it as something that can control, that can make decisions, that can determine actions, as well as something, somebody that exists permanently. Permanently.
Well, I think it's got to be.
Doesn't arise and fall away.
I think it's got to be any deeply held belief that is not the correct belief, or not is the correct view of reality. It's any view of reality that is not correct.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to there's many ways that could be manifested, but the one you've just given is one instance of it.
Mm-hmm.
But there could be others too. So there's only one correct view of the way things are.
Yes. Yes, better to define it as you did in terms of what it's not.
There's the idea, something here that is touched. It is utter.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's Sakaya Ditti when it's oneself, one's arm, my leg, my body. But when it's something there or another person there, then it's not Sakaya Ditti, but there are all kinds of Atta Ditti, kinds of self-belief.
Well, it depends on whether we mean just the thought of computer, or
when it's the idea
when
of something there.
One has the
hardness.
idea, a belief that there is something real about it. So I think the mere thought does not necessarily imply view about existence or substance.
Something there that lasts, not hardness,
Yes,
has fallen away instantly. That is sunyata at that moment.
Yeah. So I like, Jonathan, your description a minute ago, or your defining a few minutes ago. It is self. It is things that are thought of as real that are not real. Is that what you said? Something like that?
I said that it's any view of the way things are that is not the right of conditioned realities. But I think I'm talking about a view, belief, rather than just a momentary thought. Because as we look around now, there are we identify various things in our field of vision, for example, but there's not necessarily a view as to how real they
There's so much ignorance that about the asavas of it's unknown. It's there instantly after seeing or hearing, but unknown, so impossible to say at that moment of looking whether there is wrong view or not, because the subtle kinds of ditthi, the subtle kinds of self-view are not known. The obvious ones are more apparent, but the asavas, the subtle wrong view, not known at all. So we can't say it's not there or it is.
Right.
On the other hand, we can't say the characteristic of wrong views during the time whenever the world is seen as the world of things.
I'm sorry, Jonathan, I couldn't hear all of that.
I said our view of the world is, of course, influenced by these subtle defilements, the asavas, including that of wrong. But that doesn't mean that characteristic of wrong view is there appearing all the time, just because there's the idea of I'm in a room and that's a computer in front of me. Doesn't mean that there is wrong view appearing to be known at that time, even though it's there as an asava and is influencing the way the world is seen.
Is there as an asava because we think of it as something? Is that right?
Think of what
No,
as
as an asava, sorry, as an asava, we don't know, but whenever we think of the computer, let's use that for example, as something, there may or may not be wrong view.
And long before that, because even in the idle process, when it's just a visible object that's appeared, no thought of anything at all, but still the asava, the wrong view, can arise. So it shows how very, very subtle it can be. And
Very
even in the mind, or just an impression of a shape or something, the wrong view can arise. So it can be so very subtle long before there's an idea of a computer existing. And when there's a thought of computer, like now, thought of computer, there may or may not be any wrong view at that moment.
Right, it could just be the asava of ignorance, again, of which we're unaware.
Yes, I know.
But that is by definition not appearing and cannot be known at that moment.
Right. Right, but it's a mistake not to know that the asavas arise.
Right.
It's a mistake to underestimate how much ignorance, how much wrong view is there, to think that there's no wrong view or no ignorance now because we're discussing Dhamma. That would be the mistake.
No.
So I think as understanding develops, it begins to understand there's so much more than we ever considered. Or
And more than that too.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Morning, Maeve. I think you were trying to speak on Saturday, so please go ahead. Good to see you. We can't hear you, Maeve.
On your audio, mate.
We can't hear you.
Start again.
It's probably more an observation about this this conversation that we've been having on and off for a while about no arms and legs, etc. And something occurs is that the bigger picture is actually that this human circumstance of the material body and that the conditions that allow a mind to think about the experiences that arise via that body of seeing and touching and the whole variety of phenomenon that come through the sense door experiences, that this is actually a unique set of circumstances in which we come to understand realities. That it's like our, that this and that's our classroom. And that no arms and no legs is sort of that view is the end result of a learning process over a very long time, as we say. And that process involves just that gradual coming to terms with what the idea of no self can possibly mean. So it's sometimes I feel myself sort of thinking, I can't think about the body and things as self, but that would not be natural, because in fact right here and now, that's the if you like, the mistaken view that is also there to be thought about and examined and learned from, as Ajahn gives us reminders and comments and that sort of thing. So in some ways, this material body, the unique cluster of conditions that the nama and rupa that is a human being, it is precious. It is so precious in terms of, I suppose, the journey to ultimate understanding. So I suppose it's sometimes I guess I'm speaking to a degree of acceptance about, what is there, what we're actually, yes, the conditions present. So it's, please comment. As I said, it was more like an observation over the conversation we've been having for a while now, and which you've just explored too, Anne.
Well, I'm sure Ajahn will have some comment, but I would just like to make an observation also that, as we've previously discussed, for the enlightened being, the Sotapanna, who has no more wrong view of self, there is still the idea of body and arms and legs, but no more idea of a self. So the concept's going to be with us for the whole of samsara, regardless of the level of understanding that has been attained.
Yes. Yes.
What is something?
Could you ask the question again, please, Ajahn?
What is something?
What is something? An idea.
No reality. What things are something?
Just Jitta thinks of something.
Yes, we can say that, but there must be a reality.
Yes.
At that moment as well.
Right.
In life, there are so many things, but actually there are only different realities not known as it is, that as not self or anything. We use the word self and it depends on understanding of what does it mean. But when we use the word just ordinary, like what is something? What does it mean? Something.
In ordinary conversation, it refers to conventional objects, things.
No understanding that it's a moment of a reality, right? Only the idea from birth
Right?
about this and that, always thing and something all the time. Is that right? From birth.
Yes, from birth.
But without any reality at all, can there be moment of thinking of something? See, even that is not known as no one, but it's the reality which can experience an object. We don't know anything about experiencing an object of experiencing. But the truth is that the enlightenment knows that actually what take for thing or something without any reality at all, there cannot be such moment of thinking, experiencing something, see? And something is a thing, no matter it is that which experiences or that which cannot experience, because no understanding of the truth of anything at all from birth to death, each life, without hearing the truth, the absolute truth of what is thing. See, there is always thing, but something, whether it's known as legs or arms or birds or food or whatever, but it's thing, a something. When there's no understanding of the way it is as concept, as food or bed, but it's something there all the time. So there's something, no one knows that what is that, but it's a reality all the time. For example, whenever there is the idea of something, to understand what does it mean, something, there must be thing. And the thing, we take it for thing, but actually it's the absolute reality is unknown until hearing about the truth that what is there at this very moment. Something is the seeing is something, right? Even the seeing of that which is seen, even the seeing itself is something, right? Or not thing at all. This is the way to understand how deep the idea of self is there. Not just taking this for me, of that for that person, but anything there. A reality there is not known. So it is something all the time. And we use different terms like whether self means just only this, not that, not including that. But actually, the idea without any word is thing. What is that? A thing, unknown. And then what is that? It's something more and more. Whether it is microphone or whether it is the ground or the tree or whatever, see? But no understanding of the absolute truth, that actually what is meant by no one and nothing, including everything which is there, when it's conditioned to be there. No one can make it arise at all. This is the way to wearing away, letting go the idea of self from understanding the truth, the absolute truth that is there all the time, but it's covered up by not knowing, not understanding it as it is. So it's it. Even the seeing is it. It sees. The hearing is it. It hears. See? So begin to understand what's meant by no self and no thing includes everything, which even the idea of what is that thing? That is something in mind. What is that? To know what is it? But actually, the truth is that it's gone completely all the time, even right now. So we learn to understand what is life, what is real, and what is the absolute truth. To let go that which is conditioned, to have no more conditions to condition the arising of everything. See, to understand the truth that absolute meaning, the absolute meaning of no thing and no self means no one, nothing there at all when there's no conditions. But who can stop the conditions for each moment which is conditioned? But the understanding of the truth begin to let go the ignorance of that, as it's not like we think people and things, but it's only different realities in life from moment to moment. Listen more, understanding more. At that moment, it's the way to letting go from the moment of understanding, to let go the idea of self, very, very deeply rooted, very, very difficult to dig it up and see it as it is, or panya, to go deeply down, to understand the moment of arising and falling away now. See, that's why understanding each word, even just the word of no one and nothing, but what is there is a thing usually, but actually it is not anything, because it's conditioned to just appear as that and then gone completely. And learn a little more about the conditions for its arising, to have more confidence on the truth of actually no thing, no one, nothing at all. Only that which is conditioned, arising and falling away, never to return at all. Only once in samsara. From this moment on and on and on, to next life, to other life. Samsara never ends when there's no understanding of the truth of it. As it is, we use the word no self and no thing, but the meaning is that no matter what is there, we use the word, it's there as it is. So even what is something, see, can bring about understanding of what is the meaning of that.
But Chan, I'm thinking about dream. When you're dreaming, what is it that's taken for something then?
Okay, is that dreaming? Is there a dream?
Yes, there is dreaming.
Something? Is it something when we use the word dream?
Now, when I think about it, it's just a memory.
Yes, but is it thing or something? Memory?
It's taken for something, yes.
So when we talk about what is that, it's something. The idea of thing is there. But the truth is not the thing, but it's the reality which is conditioned. So a dream at that moment, when it's there, it's conditioned. So what is it? Is it moment of seeing?
Thinking.
Is it moment of hearing?
No.
Smelling?
No.
Tasting?
No.
Touching?
No seeing, no nothing. Just thinking about seeing, about hearing, about smelling, about tasting.
But the truth is there. Thinking.
Thinking.
But not as now, because it's a dream, which means that at that moment, it's only moment of thinking.
Yes.
But at this moment, it's not only moment of thinking, there is moment of seeing as well. This is the difference between dreaming and what is now, not a dream. But still, it's a dream of life in samsara, because not understanding the truth. Dreaming about I. Actually, what is that? Arising and falling away completely, never to return.
So at that moment of dreaming, there's some reality taken for something.
Can the one who dies think at the
No,
moment?
no.
See, so what is dreaming? Is it different from thinking right now?
It is not different, but at this moment, you were just reminding us that when there's thinking now, some reality is taken for something.
So thinking is thinking, seeing is seeing, no matter what. No matter we call it dreaming or not dream, but it's thinking, right? It experiences what is seen and heard before, not just only in this life, also the other life. Sometimes we dream about that which hasn't heard in this life at all, or seen in this life at all. How come? To condition such thought about that, which is the object of thinking. By conditions, no expectation at all. Who can think that I will dream about this tonight? Impossible. As what would be next moment is not expected,
Right.
and not expected at all.
I'm thinking now that usually in a day, everything is taken for something. So definitely in a dream, all those memories also are based on
Concept as well.
memories.
And it is something all the time while dreaming, like even if it's dreaming about a purple elephant, it's the idea of something, or dreaming about people, something, someone, all the time.
No, the question came, Sarah, Chan was sort of bringing us back to the moment about when there's the idea of something now, then there's a reality at that moment that's taken for something. So it can be a reminder about realities.
It's just the same while dreaming, because even though there's no seeing and hearing in between the thinking, there's been seeing and hearing before, which conditions the thinking about arms and legs. So when it's the thinking about arm and leg, it's still something there, just like now. So it's just that there are no sense door processes, but the thinking is just like now. Thinking about people, thinking about arms and legs, thinking about computers, just thinking about something, someone all the time. So that's why the ET is so much more subtle than one has any idea about, because instantly there's something there.
And I'm thinking about the asavas. So between each mind door process during a dream, there's also the asavas. So yeah, why not?
Whilst dreaming, a very, very subtle ditty that doesn't appear, that's quite unknown.
Right.
And I think that back to Maeve's comments about now, the journey now, the understanding, we can say it's precious, but any nama or rupa falls away instantly, as we were discussing. So there's clinging, taking it for being something important, something that matters, something precious, but actually it's conditioned and has gone immediately. So the Buddha also said whatever arises is foul and dangerous and worthless and not worth clinging to at all, like a dart or like a cesspool. And even understanding in the deepest sense is unsatisfactory and worthless because it's gone immediately. But there's always clinging to it, clinging to something, finding it important. But whatever arises is gone and of no value, no lasting value at all.
I have a question from the Mahamangala Sutta. And the first little paragraph is not associating with fools. Here, not associating with, not following, not serving. And then it says fools, they live and they breathe, thus they are fools. So to me, that's all of us, everyone. But then it goes on, the purport is that they live merely by breathing in and breathing out, but they do not live by wisdom. So is it saying that anyone who's not got wisdom, when there is no wisdom, then it's a fool?
I think it's when there's wrong view, then it's a fool. And when there's wisdom, it's wise friend. So even us, I mean, when there's no wrong view, it's just akusala. And so associating with, it's not association with fools at that time. Otherwise, you would call a Sotapanna a fool, because even he or she has ignorance and attachment. But I think it's a fool means wrong understanding.
And isn't there associating with the fool whenever the wrong view arises, like whenever there is taking what is seen for being something, a person that lasts, isn't that associating with the fool at that moment? No, associating with the Buddha or the Buddha's understanding at the moments of such wrong view.
Oh, I hadn't thought.
Whereas one could be with some ignorant, foolish people, but with understanding at that moment. So one can go out and be mixing with all kinds of people, but at moments of understanding, there's no association with the fool. So it always comes back to one's own citta, not the other people.
Right. Okay. Yes.
People can be talking nonsense or gossiping or talking about a lot of wrong view, but if there's no taking on the wrong view, if there's no association with that idea, then there's no association with the fool at that moment. Right. Otherwise, people misunderstand and think that they have to avoid their family or friends or anyone who doesn't have right understanding, which it doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, that's what
to one's citta now.
That's what I was thinking when I read it. I thought, well, I'm not going to go out there and associate with anybody, but it makes much more sense what you're saying. Yes, that it's here, it's not out there.
Just like right now, if one's daydreaming about one's breakfast or lunch or dinner or what jobs one's going to do later, it can't be said there's any associating with the wise. There cannot be any associating of the Buddha with the Buddha at those times. That all comes back to this moment. Yoniso, ayoniso manasikara that Tadao mentioned, or whether there's associating with the fool or associating with the wise even now.
Thank you. That's cleared it up for a time.
Like we might think, oh, for 2 hours I'm associating with Ajahn and with wise friends, but what about the moments of when one's restless or disturbed or clinging to this or that? Then no associating with wisdom or the wise at those moments. So it's always momentary. Whatever the Buddha taught about is always at just this moment.
Thank you.
Like you mentioned, our friend who came to visit you, who has different ideas, and when he was listening to the discussion, didn't agree with this and that and what have you. Does it mean one doesn't associate with that person? Of course not, because one tries to help, one tries to share as best one can, and at those moments of helping and sharing and spreading Dhamma and understanding, it is associating with the wise. We can see how wrong understandings lead to lots of strange behaviors, like thinking one shouldn't mix with this person or that person, or one should cut oneself off and live in the forest, for example. It can't be right at all.
And at that time, who's the fool?
Thinking like that is associating with the fool.
Then that probably covers another part of it where it says merit done in the past, you know, is a term for wholesome Dhamma performed in a past birth, which brings good results. And of course, it got me thinking about performing. You can't change what's been done, but performing good deeds now. But it's much the same. It's still self wanting to perform good deeds, self not wanting to associate with fools, not knowing that the fool is here, and that the merit done is not my merit. It's just arises because of accumulations, and then nothing can be done. Thank you.
And it's so true, because the merit from the past brings its results right now and is accumulated. So the understanding now can only arise because it's been accumulated because of that merit in the past. And the understanding now will also accumulate and bring its results in future. And that's the greatest merit of all, the understanding right now. But it's not my merit or my result experience. So it can all be proved at this moment that whatever is taught is true about the associating with the fools or the wise at this moment, and the merit at this moment with understanding.
Right understanding is the key factor. Right understanding of what arises now.
Otherwise, like you say, it will be read with the idea that I can perform merit, I can go and donate to a temple, or I can do this or that. But it's not the understanding of reality now, not the understanding of what true merit really is.
So sutta reading, you know, I know there's a lot of people that think only the suttas should be read and not commentaries or anything, but not even that, you know, commentaries. It's right understanding again, isn't it? It's right understanding of what really is. Because reading through the suttas, and I've said this before, sometimes it, like for this, I've taken it a bit the wrong way. And reading suttas can be just a story if there's no understanding of what's really behind it, what the Buddha was really saying.
Yes, I think whenever it's just a story or just another situation, like avoiding people who have any wrong ideas or something like that, then it shows there's no understanding of conditioned realities as anatta. So whatever we read in the Buddha's teachings, it is about realities which are conditioned. And not just in the Buddha's teachings, but actually even in the newspaper or anywhere else, there are only realities which are conditioned, no matter what the story sounds like.
And Azita, I'm just thinking that position about just the suttas, no need, you don't need the commentaries and the Abhidhamma, is actually closer to the idea of don't read, just meditate.
Yes, possibly. I don't know about that, but yeah, maybe. Yes.
I mean, in the end, it's all one's own thinking. So if it's just one own thinking and don't see the value of hearing and dependence on the Buddha's teachings, then it ends up thinking on one's own and and thinking that one can do this, one can do that.
And saying that, I was thinking then as you were talking, okay, I'm reading it as don't associate with fools, but it could go further and explain, well, the fool is the one without understanding, and turn it round on the reader. Do you know how, like what Sarah was saying, it isn't out there, it's here. And I often don't get that when I'm reading sutras or reading commentaries. It's always out there, which is possibly a bit of wrong understanding.
I mean, right. I mean, we always forget that it's what appears now, so it's not just this particular situation, it's all day, we're just so involved in other people and forget that it's only what appears now that's real.
All day and half the night if one is dreaming.
Sometimes people talk a lot about other people and their wrong views or their misbehavior or how they're acting, but what about the citta now when one's thinking like that and still concerned about the other's wrong views or misunderstanding? So that's why the understanding now of what appears now is always most precious.
Most definitely, most
And
precious.
that's why it's the understanding that conditions more kindness and more compassion, less being judgmental or being preoccupied with the other's akusala, for example. And when, like we were discussing, it's more apparent how much ignorance, how much wrong view there is, easier to be more understanding, more accepting that it's like that for everyone.
John, I heard on a recording, it's a very recent recording, you talked about the difference between nimitta of reality and the nimitta we take for concept. And I'm thinking nimitta of reality is when there is direct understanding, it is understanding of the nimitta of reality. As it is impossible to have direct understanding of one reality, and realities arise and fall away so quickly, that would be the nimitta of the reality. And when you talk about nimitta, the nimitta we take for concept, I'm thinking that has to be that progression of the nimitta from first of all, just the image of the reality through to understanding, or the nimitta of not understanding, but the nimitta of the nimitta Anubhyanjana, the details leading to the nimitta of shape and form, and then concept, then the which shouldn't say forms out, which progresses into a concept. So when you talk about the nimitta we take for concept, is what I have said correct, I guess? Is that what you were talking about?
Yes, because you see that if there's no reality at all, can there be concept?
No,
Without nimitta, can there be concept?
no.
So the truth of the arising and falling away so rapidly of reality and reality can condition the idea of different shape and form, and then it makes known for what it's there as is nimitta. So daily life. Now, look at the picture in your room, if there is one. What is there? Two birds, see? How can there be the idea of two birds perching on a branch, see? So many realities arising and falling away. Only one cannot be directly experienced. For example, seeing. Is there any chitta before seeing? And are there many chittas after seeing? Unknown, right?
Right.
Because at this moment, only understanding that which is seen as only that which impinged on the eye base, only that how small it is, and where is it, when is it. It is with the four primary rupas. That's why the four primary rupas cannot impinge on the eye base, but that which is there, another rupa, it cannot be bird or branch or anything at all. Only that which can impinge on the eye base. It cannot understand anything. It cannot experience anything. But its reality, its quality is to be able to impinge on the eye base. Only that. So what appears has to be that which can impinge on the eye base. No bird, no branch, no thing at all. So what appears is the nimitta of different realities. But when it comes together as birds and brands, it's not the nimitta of the reality, right?
No.
The nimitta of the succession, of the rapidity of many realities arising and falling all the time, but only one can be object of experiences. Otherwise, they cannot be the sign or the nimitta of anything at all. Is this not true? To begin to understand the truth of actually no one there at all. No thing, see? Only different realities. One can experience an object, and there are realities which arises but cannot experience anything at all. And this is life from moment to moment, the arising and falling away of the two, the one which experiences and the one which cannot experience.
When we talk about details and shape and form, there have to have been many realities that arise and fall away before there could be the perception of shape and form. Well, it's not even perception. Before there could be, it's not even appearance of shape and form, is it? It's so
different colors.
I'm sorry?
Different colors,
Yes.
right? Even
Yes.
we don't see color are different, but the truth is that not the same.
Yes. They're not the same. I see. Yeah. So it's from the difference between the realities that arise away and fall away so quickly that we start to perceive shape and form. Is that right?
And this is the beginning to learn about the truth of what is there now in life from moment to moment.
Mm-hmm.
To let go the idea of something permanent. But what is there, as we use the word something, a reality. And when we talk about it, it's gone. Even we are talking about seeing right now. The nimitta of it is not known because the object which is seen, known as something, no understanding of that which experiences that. That's why we learn to understand the truth, the absolute truth about each moment, to understand that what is meant by enlightenment. There must be the understanding from the very beginning to understand each word. We are quite far apart, right? You are there and I'm here. But the association, you are not associated with me, but the words of truth, the words of the Buddha, getting close to know who's he, the enlightened one, and what is meant by enlightenment. The truth that anyone can begin to understand and develop very little until it can directly experience the truth as have heard and studied and understood from the very beginning right now, little by little. The understanding today is not like yesterday or the day before, but it has a little more understanding, not you, until actually know thing and know one and know you. Only a reality which is experienced as nimitta. Because how can there be panya right at the seeing moment? Impossible. Many processes, who knows, without the teachings of the Buddha to understand the truth that actually no one can stop the way reality is at all. And it's gone. What is there now is gone. Until it is directly experienced by them, no doubt about what we say about arising and falling away and the nimitta.
The thinking of the nimitta of realities, and then the details and the shape and form. It's really inconceivable how quickly it all
But
happened.
learn to understand little by little that is it true or not? And when it's true, can it be directly experienced? Because the truth is there. But when there is the idea of I, it cannot see reality as just a reality. It's something all the time. And I, the feeling, Vedana Khanda, Sanya Khanda, Sankhara Khanda, Vijnana Khanda, are not known as they are different realities, even in a moment, until it shows up. And how can it show up when it's hidden quite a long, long time ago? The words of truth, the association of the words of truth brings about the understanding of the truth little by little.
And it's all filtered through wrong view, through our wrong view. It's until a wrong view has been eradicated, these filters are there that don't understand at all and take
So
things for things and selves and people.
Ignorance is ignorance. It's not I. Understanding is understanding. Different, opposite of ignorance. So, no, this is a way to understand that it is not me, but it is the reality which cannot understand the truth until right understanding is conditioned to begin to understand little by little. So, at moment of understanding, there is no ignorance, little by little, until reality can show up as it is, different ones, only one at a time. That's why there must be the beauty of the teachings, the beginning, the middle, and the final. See, from hearing it's so true, and when there's awareness of it, it's so true that it's there as it is. And the Pativeda can experience directly the truth because of less attachment to the next one, which follows instantly all the time.
Yes, and even like you say, the self is there, comes in all the time. So even when thinking or working out about the shapes and the forms and the different colors and the Anupyanjana and which is a nimitta and what about the concepts and so on, it's not the understanding of just that which appears now as Dhamma. It's the idea of something that is being worked out or formulated, and first this, then that. So that's why it always has to come back to just that which appears, no matter what it's called, no matter it's called visible object or nimitta, or it's just at this very moment.
Yeah, yes, so that's so true. Although I feel that understanding the intellectual level about some of this is certainly very helpful and necessary. Otherwise, well, there wouldn't be sufficient understanding developed for Panya to be able to directly experience the reality. Although I agree completely, can't dwell on that.
So it's true that there has to be the pariyatti, but the moments of pariyatti have to be with understanding. So the moments of understanding are different from the moments of I trying to get the story right, or I working it out and getting lost in the idea of things and processes. So it's a very, it's a subtle point, the pariyatti, the right understanding of nimitta, of what appears right now.
Right, it has to be now.
And that there's bound to be both. There bound to be moments of wise considering, as Tadao mentioned at the start, but also many moments of taking it for my understanding of something. Are you trying to speak, Sundara?
Yeah, look, I was just coincidentally had that book that Zita was talking about a moment ago, and in the Pali, well, in the about the foolish there, because as you know, I'm sure, they go into words in great detail, and I think misunderstanding can come when you read them if there's not some perhaps better understanding of the Pali. It just says here, here, excuse me, herein not consorting, a sewana, is not consorting, not reverencing. Then it goes on to say, with the foolish, balanam, and then it's got full colon because they go on to explore this word balanam. They are strong, they breathe. Now the Pali there is balanti. Now bala just means power. Balanti means they are strong or they are powerful. Ananti means to do with the breathing. Thus they are fools, bala. So they combine that word balanti, ananti, and they make it bala. So they make it just because you are strong and you are breathing, you are bala. the intention is that they live with mere in-breath and out-breath instead of with a life of understanding. So I think it can be misread when you read that. And then it goes on to say, of course, with the wise man. So yeah, it comes down to that understanding that Bala, as we know, means foolish person, but Bala means just strong. And they've combined it with that word ananti, which means just to breathe. Rather with the wise, and they do the same with the word panditanam. Rather with the wise, they pick their way, pandanti. Thus they are wise, pandita. The intention is that they go with the gate of knowledge, of benefit here and now, and in the life to come. With that sort of wise man, consorting, sewana, frequenting, reverencing them, yeah, then it's got companionship, intimacy with them. So they often do that in the commentaries. They really pick the word apart and they give different versions of how that word can be interpreted. And they kind of have done that with Bala, they've played on it and they've given that aspect of just being able to breathe or just being able to be strong, inverted commas. It doesn't mean to say that, it's confusing when you even look at the commentary sometimes. Okay, I'll leave it at that because I know time's getting on. And look, Jan, too, I just want to say, look, I am very, very much appreciative of all the time and energy that you put into being there for us. I know I'm speaking for many that I know that many people are very, very grateful. So I sort of take that opportunity now towards the end to extend my appreciation of all the time and energy that you put into the Dhamma and sharing that with us.
It's my pleasure. And whenever I use the term in Pali and talk about the truth to be understood, I'm doing good to the Buddha, like the way I'm good to my parents and ancestors. See? But much more than that, all of us are doing this. The most
That's a good
moments in life. To understand each word better and better, clearer and clearer, until reality can show up, because no attachment to whatever follows this moment. That's the meaning of sati.
Yeah, I was thinking too, just Ajahn there in that, word by word, we have to look at and try to, make efforts to understand what that word really means. And I can see here in the word, just simply on that one with Bala, as opposed to Bala, which the commentator has played upon to give us a different interpretation of the word Bala. It's you have to think carefully and consider carefully what is trying to be said. Of course, as was spoken earlier, that doesn't mean to say we stop having connections with people who perhaps never heard the Dhamma, but at the end of the day, we need to be discriminating also in by conditions. I know people say that. We need to be discriminating with what we hear and who we consort with.
I think it was useful for the commentary interpretation of association, because it used expressions like reverence. And so it's not just being in the physical presence of, but it is having regard for the other person that is being referenced there.
Unwise or the wise, for the foolish or the wise at that moment. So one can be with someone with completely wrong view, but without any reverence for that wrong view.
One pays no regard to what they are saying or thinking.
Just like one could be with the wise, but not have any reverence or regard for what is wise. So it is the Chitta now.
Is that helpful, Azita?
That is most helpful. That's really expanded that little paragraph I read.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think it's time.
Yes, thank you very much, Ajahn and everyone. Satika.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
คุณ
Bye-bye.
ท่านอาจาร
Till
ย์
next time.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Bye.